a woman that is doing it. Let me introduce you to Miss Heather Taylor. Hey, beautiful. I love the show. Okay, so Heather Taylor is as well an entrepreneur. She is a producer, a personalist, and for 25 years, she has been mentoring men, women, families, and corporations internationally on rewriting the script. I love that, rewriting the script. She's going to be sharing with us today on the 5 elements of you. She solo hiked, and you're going to probably correct me after, so that's okay. I wrote it out phonetically, the Preikestolen, yes?
Very close, yes, you got it.
Okay, she hiked the Preikestolen in Norway, which is a big deal. She can share that with you 6 months after being in a wheelchair for 10 years. Woo! All right. Okay, now the song that she loves is the song You and I by Ingrid Michaelson.
I have to say, you know, just to start with Jane, oh my gosh, I love the compassion and the ability for her to really see that when someone's coming in and maybe presenting from a negative aspect, it's really just themselves trying to figure it out. And I think that's really powerful and profound, and things that really need to be brought into the self. So I was just like, when she was sharing that, I was like, yes, yes, you know, because it's so powerful to be able to not internalize it, not allow yourself to be triggered, and just recognize and have compassion for that person's journey. And so I really wanted to just send some love to that, because it needs to be seen. I mean, beyond so many other things that she was, you know, resonating with and being with. And, you know, I get it. I came from the ghetto, excuse me. And I worked really hard to get where I am today. And it was beautiful. And I would do it over and over again. And I just really honor what Jane has gone through, and what she has turned into a blessing. And that's really dovetails into a lot of what the 5 elements are about and what I'm going to get into today. So before I do that, though, I'm going to just kind of touch in a little bit about the Preikestolen. Basically, I was hit by a drunk driver. I was paralyzed in a wheelchair on the right side of my body it took 10 years to heal and learn how to walk again. It took 1.5 years to move my big toe, and the rest was just overcoming atrophy. And I was a single mama. Now I'm a grandma and a mom of 5. And I just wanted to do all the things that the doctors said I would never do. And having more kids, excuse me, having more kids and hiking the Preikestolen was just a couple things on my list. And so today, you know, being almost 20 years later, my life is completely different. And what happened was I just really started to embody and learn what I needed to do to heal. And in order for me to heal, I needed to see the different layers. So it started with 3 elements. You know, I was going to school full time to heal myself, and I had clients, and 3 elements were birthed. And I just kind of was like, oh my gosh, okay. So in order for me to heal, I need to pay attention to my mental body. I need to pay attention to my emotional body, and I need to pay attention to my physical body. So what does that mean to me? And I started to kind of dive down that journey. Not to mention, I've always been on a very deep personal spiritual relationship with creation, and have, you know, started intuiting when I was 5 years old. So it's just really a connected space for me. And part of my journey is to walk the red road, which are the drums behind me and my chanupa and my conch. So spirit was just pouring this information in, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So now I got to apply it. Now I have to do the work, because if I'm not applying it and doing the work, you know, what does a good scientist do? A good scientist test it on themselves. So I needed to really find out what was going on with me. And the next thing you know, I started making medicine and really getting into how that was affecting me and how that was impacting my mind and my emotional body and how I was feeling about myself. And then the other 2 elements arrived, because I spent 10 years in containment and didn't know how to communicate with the outside world anymore, just going to doctors and raising my kids. That when I started to go out into the world, I realized, oh my gosh, I need to take these 3 elements and bring them into myself. And the 4th was born. And then I realized, oh my gosh, now I have to go out into the world and see the people and just really embody who I am and not let my nerves take over, and just really be grounded in like, this is my path and there's a level of mystery and unknown, and that's okay. And then the fifth element was born. So I'm going to go over them a little bit more detailed for you guys and see how they resonate for you. The first element is mental, and mental is about fire, right? And in many, many belief systems all around the world, you'll hear them talk about fire down and water up, right? And a big thing about that is, it's like, how is your mental mind impacting you? You know, what are you doing? How are you being activated? What are the awarenesses that are happening? And where are you accountable in your own mind? I think accountability is such an important key component within self. You know, and a lot of times people will say, well, you know, should I go and tell everybody where I'm accountable now? And it's like, well, really, it's just about being accountable with yourself. If you feel you need to go out and communicate with someone, sure. But this is a personal journey. You know, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And when we're having a human experience, it's not about trying to get out there. We're already out there. It's about bringing it in here. And if we are running around in here and our brainstem, you know, our chemical response is firing off whatever the emotion is that we are facing, maybe it's oxytocin and we're in fight, flight, face, or walk away, you know, how your past journey is, how your trauma is, what you faced and overcame and what you haven't, is going to be a huge factor on how that chemical responds to the electrical in your brain. And once it responds, then it bonds. And then it goes over that synaptic gap and it runs through the body. And once it runs through the body through neurotransmissions, now you've manifested. So our thoughts are important. And I always say, I'm always telling my kids, to tell everybody, to me, it's about the heart is my boss and my mind is making sense of my heart. So that moves us into the emotional body, which is element 2. And that's about discernment. Because once we're aware of what our thought patterns are and how it's being fired off in our body and how we're manifesting results based on where we're actually at, even if there's an element of mystery, our emotions are connected to our heart too. It's like this navigational pathway. And when our heart is being the boss and our emotions are present, there's a little bit less mystery. I'm not going to say the mystery is ever going to go away. I feel that being in the unknown and being in the mystery is a huge part and a huge component of having that human experience as a spiritual being. But I will say it becomes more joyful, because I find as time comes and the more I'm doing the work on me and the more I'm showing up with myself and becoming more aware of who I am and what I need to be present for my family, to be present for my 5 companies, to be present for the things that I'm doing, the more I can dance in that mystery. You know, that's why I always say it's not about hiding out and waiting for the storm to pass. Let's dance in the rain and take as many people, women, men, children that we can. So being aware of that discernment of where you are in your emotional body and how you're impacting people around you. You know, it's not just about how we're impacted, because however we're impacting people around us, that's our reflection or mirror of what we're experiencing in our own inner self and our life. And how we're attracting things like media or reaching out or clients or big events that are coming, or maybe just simply being in a school play, watching your kid and connecting with the parents and being able to observe. You know, yesterday I was in that space and I was able to observe a mom with a son with a brain injury, and she was mortified. And I just wanted to hug her and say, it's okay. It's okay. And I feel like those things are important. And if we're not paying attention to how we're impacting the outside world, we might not be able to support another human that way. And isn't that what this is about? It's about community and being supported and supporting. So that brings me into our third element, which is physical. This is the earth element. When we're working in that earth element, this is about self-worth. This is about being grounded. This is about being aware of our bodies. Are we over-conscious about our health, over-conscious about our physical body? Are we under-conscious about it? Or maybe we are being in one way, but then when we're out in the world, we're not really, divulging that, because maybe there's some part of ourselves that there's a guilt or a shame or a trigger or a trauma even, and these things are beautiful and so important because they transform our lives. And once you have that awareness and that discernment and that grounded self-worth, and you're seeing where you're not valuing yourself and where you are, maybe where you're not valuing others, which of course is a reflection of where you're not valuing self. That helps you unlock blind spots. Blind spots are always going to be there, whether they're in the finite or grand. And as most people know, that finite is usually the things that move the most. It's little things. So really being aware of that is key. And once you come into those three aspects, then you go into containment, and that's spirit, that's air. It's so exciting. That's like the magic of you. And you get to bring all of that in and go, okay, I'm looking at my mind. I'm looking at my emotional body. I'm looking at my physical awareness and where I am in myself. And now I'm looking at all the different people I have, and how I'm feeling. Am I feeling empowered with the community I'm with? And am I empowering them? Is maybe something need to fall away because I've moved into a different frequency and it just doesn't resonate with me anymore? And that's the beautiful part, guys, is it's not about blowing up bridges. It's about allowing them to move where they belong so that they can always be moving as we grow and shift. That's why change is a constant, because it allows us to have other experiences in different ways. And how yummy and powerful is that? Being able to see that. You might have a person come into your life and you might think, oh my gosh, that's my person. I'm going to be with that person forever. And then you realize, oh my gosh, that's just a business partner. Or my situation with my husband, totally started working together. I rejected him for like a year, and he was totally my person. Every single one of my kids, my son-in-laws were like, Mom, this is your guy. And I was like, nope, working kids. Mom, this is your guy. And, he absolutely is my guy. And that energy, that bridge moved. It moved from business, us running businesses and growing together that way, into becoming my life and my soul partner. So it can go in any direction. And it's really about non-attachment. So where are you not attached? And then the other part is when you're in containment, you're moving from integration to embodiment. I hear people talk about integration all the time, and it's so important. It's really funny to me because I have some beautiful elder teachers that I just love so deeply. And I was going to one of them, and he's just an amazing man. And he says, I'm like, okay, I'm going to manifest. He has a beautiful property where we do sacred things. He says, oh, I said, okay, I'm going to just manifest being humble and being around. And he's like, Heather, every time you're always worried about being humble, honey, and you're totally humble. So why don't you just recognize that it's embodied now? You don't have to focus so much on that. Let's focus on something else. And it's kind of this powerful click-in moment where I realized, oh my gosh, I'm hyper focusing on all these things inside myself that I've already embodied. It's past integration. It's now embodied in me. And now I get to focus on something else. I still keep my finger on the pulse of it because that's super important to be aware of all the things and just kind of do personal check-ins. But now I'm not so focused on that part of me. Now I'm just embodying it into my being and living and breathing it in. And that's sacred. And that's what containment is. It's the sacredness of self. And once that part of self is in awareness and you feel grounded and clear, and you're like, okay, I'm not going to have attachment. And maybe this relationship needs to change. Or maybe I need to put this part on hold in my business and really focus on this because you're going to feed each other. Just being open to that shift. Then you get to go into the fifth element. And that's ethereal. That's about selection. That's about taking that clarity, taking that state of being, taking that understanding and putting it into action. That's standing up, that's showing up, that's speaking out. That's what that's about, because now you're clear. Now you're grounded, now you're walking in integrity. And for me, I'm always telling my students, I don't really spend a lot of time worrying about, am I in integrity? Am I in integrity? What I do is I focus on, like, does this feel good to me? If I communicate this way, if I use this verbiage, if I talk about these feelings or these thoughts, or tell this person how I'm feeling or what I'm thinking, do I feel good and in alignment after? Because if I don't, and I'm just reacting on my emotion and I'm not in a state of response, then I need to go back into my observer seat and see where I'm at. So these are some of the basics with the 5 elements. It's so much deeper. We're working with elements. So there's a lot of things that we do with, fire, water, earth, air, and the ethereal, and how to work with those energies. I mean, this is just the basic core. Here's what I love about the 5 elements and why it impacted my life so much. I'm a very eclectic person. Probably why I have 5 kids, 5 businesses, 2 horses, dogs, partridge in a pear tree. I needed to be able to be in my diversity. I needed to be able to see how to do that. And when you're working from the eagle view, you have to see the worm. And I was needing to find the worm. And that's why the 5 elements are so important, because it works in anything. It doesn't have a niche. The niche is all things. The niche is core. It's the core of all aspects. It doesn't matter what label you apply to it. Doesn't matter what topic. Those core aspects are always going to be there, because it's you unwinding you. It's you learning how to be in the spiral of life rather than the circle. Because the circle, you're always repeating the same thing. When you're in a spiral, you can come back to the same place, but everything's been shifted because you were shifted. And if you are shifted and you are growing and you're feeling that power, then anything is possible. So my name is Heather Taylor. I have some really great events coming up. I also have 2 episodes from season 3 interview with Ed, which are, you want to hear my story and some rawness, and there's also some channeling and different things that are on that episode, and you should see it posted here. There's 2 episodes, season 3 finale, super exciting, with Ruben Langdon. I have an online show called Get Tailored, who my co-host is Ruben Langdon. He's my business partner and one of my dearest friends. You will love, love, love him. Oh my gosh. And we are also doing Lemurian Life Expo. Lemurian Life Expo is a beautiful thing, because not only are we showcasing very, very well-known and many decade trained professionals that are working with spiritual energy, galactic energy, and the cosmos, but Lemurian is about love. It's about the heart. And we have beautiful people coming up, Lyrica and Gail. Gail is the mother of Lyrica. She's a nonverbal autistic who her mother has created with somebody else, a machine that assists her in communicating her channeling. So there's just so many gifts and beauty. And to top it all off, we're doing it at the college. We're supported for the first time in history ever. The city of Mount Shasta is giving us their seal and supporting our event. And we are interning the college students and the high school students at this event so that they can work with Spectrum, which is one of our business partners in this event, and learn production and learn the things that they love. So many things unfolding. I barely scratched the surface, but I really hope that you felt my heart, because that's what this is about. It's about us all coming together. And if anybody wants to come onto my podcast, or if you want me to refer you to Ruben's podcast, I would love to have a conversation and just see how I can help you be you. So thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Do the jazz hands like Angel was talking about earlier, send hearts, all of that. That was just beautiful, Heather. Thank you so much for sharing.